to have the flag come down and 10,000 people out there and not have protests and not have hate, I mean, it says so much about the people of South Carolina. I think there's a lesson to be taught to the rest of the country about how we can disagree, but how we still come together and respect each other at the end of the day, and how personally every family in South Carolina took the death of the Emanuel 9. And let's go back a little bit further. Think about the time of Walter Scott. That was the time that I was nervous about, were there going to be protests? Were there going to be riots? Was there going to be anything? And all there was respect. And after that event happened, where we were betrayed by one of our own, what we saw was blacks, whites, Republicans, Democrats, everybody come together quickly, swiftly, and pass the first body cam bill in the country. So many people will ask me, were you worried there were going to be protests after the Emanuel 9? I wasn't. Because if it didn't happen then, it wasn't going to happen now. What I think was amazing after the death of the Emanuel 9 was not only were there not protests, there were vigils. Not only were there not hate comments, there were hugs by total strangers. This was an enormous amount of love that the country hadn't witnessed in a long time. And that love was so overwhelming by the fact that 9 people prayed with this guy for an hour. That is so powerful. And so we all kind of woke up with the grace of the families giving the forgiveness. But if you think about it, that love happened the second we all found out about those murders. And I mean, that's an amazing thing for a country to see. What is important for South Carolina to acknowledge is we can agree or disagree, but South Carolina really is a state that believes in respect. They do respect each other. They do honor each other's differences, and they respond that way. And that's something that I think is remarkable. From a policy perspective, I'm still going to try and do the best I can to bring up the quality of life for all people in South Carolina. That's always been important, whether it's a job, whether it's training, whether it's fixing our schools, you know, all of those things. I'm going to continue to do that. You know, you've got a lot of people who feel betrayed that that flag came down. We've got some healing to do. It's not over. And so those conversations still need to be going on in terms of how we can bring people together in a way that's healthy. And so for me, I've stayed up a lot at night trying to think about where we go from here. And I have had conversations with faith leaders that want to continue the dialogue and continue the conversation. I think that's incredibly important. But I received a suicide letter my first year in office from a girl that was being bullied. And the next month, I got another suicide letter from a little boy that was being bullied. And so I started this anti-bullying tour around the state. I've done it for 4.5 years. I'm now going to change that. And now I'm going to go into schools and I'm going to talk about race relations. And I'm going to talk about bringing down the Confederate flag and the Emanuel 9 and what it all meant. And I don't know exactly what that's going to look like yet, but that's going to be the next thing I do, because I want to catch those kids, you know, while they're still pure, while they can make these decisions of, do you go the route of hate or do you go the route of kindness? I was bullied, and I remember my dad having to go to the school and talk to the teacher because I was being bullied so much in 3rd grade. And we sat down, he talked to the teacher, and then some of those kids became some of my best friends. So, you know, it was a matter of, it's why I go telling kids in schools that you've got to tell someone and you've got to let your parents get involved. And if you do, things can turn out better. I've never been that person, you know, that said in 10 years I want to do this, or in, you know, 15. I've never been that person. I've always just really focused on the day. There's still not an hour in the day that I'm not thinking about those 9 people. And so I have to get past that. And I don't know when that's going to be. But right now, my focus is just on those 9 people and how to honor them and how to make sure that this means something, and not just temporarily means something with a flag coming down, but that it really means something to the people of the state. And so that right now is my mission, and that's my goal, and that's what I've got to figure out how to do. The emotions will fade, but we have to remember the actions that took place from the Emanuel 9. from the love that they showed and the acceptance that they showed in that room, to the grace and the forgiveness of the families, to the compassion of the people of South Carolina. I don't want that to be forgotten. I want us to always remember what we feel like today, because I think if we keep those emotions in check, if we remember what this all meant to all of us, that's how South Carolina will move forward. We have to make sure we remember that. And not only that, for the good of making sure that our children go forward knowing the story of the Emanuel 9 is an important one, because it tells so much about love and hate, and how how we as parents have a role in that, in the way that it goes forward, and how we as citizens of South Carolina have a responsibility. It goes back to Ethel Lance's song that she always sang, which was "One day at a time, sweet Jesus, that's all I ask of you. Give me the strength to do every day what I have to do." That is, I've told myself that every day.